In emergency management, the definition of a stakeholder is any person or entity with a vested interest in the survival or recovery of a given community.
This is the Stakeholder Prepping podcast, where the tactical comes from the practical, and today, you become your own stakeholder.
Here are your hosts, Chris and AC.
Welcome back to Stakeholder Prepping, where you, yes, you are the stakeholder in your own survival. And AC, I am really digging this new intro music. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh man, it's hitting hard. It's a little, I know we've said this before, it's almost like Terminator 2 theme song-y to me, but not enough that we're gonna get sued. So no, I actually, I really dig it. It's clean, it's simple, and I think it cleaned up a lot of the comments that we had regarding our old intro music. So no, I'm digging it.
Absolutely. And I am super excited for today's episode because this is going to be awesome. What do we got on deck?
This is cool. I love it when we have guests, and we have a very special guest. Our friend Jennifer Rader is joining us here. She is a published author and has a daily blog that is amazing that I do read every single day. And Jennifer, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Jennifer, our audience may or may not know you. I know I've got a couple of your books in the library, but can you kind of give us the 5-minute Jennifer bio and explain a little bit about what you do with the blog and what your books are, just kind of that elevator pitch, if you will?
Okay. I first got into preparedness because of talks at church when I was preteen. They emphasized the need to have food stored in case of emergency. So I gathered boxes of food and put them in the crawl space beneath our house. Crawl space access was in my closet. I did not tell my family I was doing this. And when they found the food later, they all laughed at me. But
Literally a closet prepper.
Yeah, I
And
was.
figuratively.
Absolutely. Yes. Anyway, that later I learned how to can and make jam and dehydrate. And then I moved on to the long-term storage foods. Lots of trial and error. As an adult, I began teaching preparedness classes for church groups. And then, before that, I took a break from preparedness. Went to Brigham Young University and got degrees in Russian and zoology. The latter is often considered a route to med school. I did that zoology for my dad and the Russian for me. I was always interested in medicine. I guess that's why I write about it now. Just didn't want to go through all the upper level math hoops to get into med school. And then, years later, I started writing a blog. My husband had wanted me to do it. I never anticipated writing this blog. It's been 7 years now. And after the first 18 months, I realized there was a lot of material, a lot of great information that I'd written, but I couldn't remember it. And so I began looking at publishing. I thought we should all have hard copies of it, my family at least, right? Because I did all this work. First book, Bring Your Own Bandages, came out in May of 2020 at the start of COVID. And then Food Storage Made Fabulous came out about 7 months later, and I just kept writing. I guess the bio part, I should also mention I have 6 children ranging in age from 20 to 35 now. And that's the group they're who I have in mind when I write. I do suspect that most of my readers are older, but they're also preparing for their families. So I think it all works out. I now have 9 preparedness titles out there focused on food storage and then herbal medicine and conventional medicine.
That's fantastic. You can really trace starting small and squirreling away food where it probably shouldn't be stored. But
well, yeah, but
that growing into obviously a very successful career. And I mean, the degrees from BYU, the mentality that you have behind it, you're really preparing for not just your worst day, but your whole family's worst day. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, and the hope is that because we've prepared, it won't be a worst day. It'll just be a little blip. We'll do things a little bit differently now, but not what I think others will experience who have chosen not to prepare.
So the blog came first. Then how long were you writing the blog before you decided to to actually turn something into a published title?
So it was probably about 18 months.
Okay.
I think I started trying to put something together in February of 2020, just because there was so much that I couldn't remember, even though I'd done all this research and like the specifics. I know if I've researched a topic, but I can't remember exactly what the prescription would be, whether it's herbal or conventional medicine, and the contraindications and all of that. I had to have that written down, and I knew my children would need that as well.
That's really interesting. You don't, I guess you say this yourself in some of your blog posts that you don't have any formal medical training, but it sounds like you have a little bit. I mean, there is some pre-med stuff that you did in college. But where did the rest of that knowledge come from? Is it just a lot of reading? Is it a lot of interneting? I mean, you've got a lot of really good information on things like herbal medicine and a lot of the natural antibiotic stuff. Where did all that come from?
Right. So I've got probably close to 3 dozen sources here now, probably evenly split between the herbal and the conventional. And then there's the internet. I am selective in my sources. There's dogs can post anything they want on the internet. You don't know you're talking to a dog, but I
Sure.
go to the Mayo Clinic. There's a great database that the NCBI, I think it's National Center for Biotechnology Information. It gathers peer-reviewed medical journal articles from around the world. So these are the sources I use. Other There's off-grid and survival texts from the past. Well, there's the current ones, like Dr. Joe Alton has his survival medicine handbook. There's Dr. Cynthia Kolker put out one, oh, maybe 10 years ago now. They're good. There's the Ship's Medicine Chest and Medical Aid at Sea, the Guide to Medical Aid at Sea. Anyway, and that one is really great. It's been published, I think, since before the 90s. It was what the ship's doctors or medical crewmen would have, and how they would have to manage diseases, illnesses, injuries without the use of radio communications.
Sure, and there's nothing like limited resources except being on a boat,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so all these different resources, and I will synthesize it and try to put it in language that a layman can understand so that it's beneficial to us, because most of us cannot go out and buy, my kids can't go out and buy 2 or 3 dozen sources to find everything. And then when something goes wrong, we probably aren't going to have time to look through all those sources.
Definitely one of those things you don't want to be pulling it out of the package during your emergency. It
Right.
needs to be at least reviewed and checked over
Right.
beforehand.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure a lot of it has come a long way since, the Civil War doctors were writing down, "Oh, cut bone here."
Well, and even some of those sources, like for the herbs, they're coming from the Civil War doctors, because so much of our medicine herbal knowledge has been lost because of big pharma. They don't support the use of herbs because they cannot patent them. But there's a lot there, and researchers are going back. Some of them are going back and finding out why. Why did Civil War doctor Francis Porcher's herbs work? What is it about them that helped save these soldiers' lives, their limbs? And it's really interesting to learn.
That's awesome. So I have some specific questions about that. You brought up herbal medicine. So you have that book, I think it's Armageddon Pharmacy, which is just a cool title, by the way. But in that, you talk a lot about herbal medicine, like what to do when the drugstore is closed. So can you give us a couple readily available plants that probably just about everybody on the planet can identify that have some medical uses that maybe they didn't know about, just had no idea that, oh, that dandelion can be used as an antiseptic or whatever. Can you give us a couple of those tips and tricks?
Okay, so dandelion, everyone will recognize, right? I can't do really well with the specific uses of some herbs, even dandelion. I know it's for liver, not necessarily antiseptic, but I have to write things down because I cannot remember them anymore.
Sure.
Getting older, I can still talk in Russian, even though I haven't had any practice for 35 years. Remembering what I studied last week gets a little dicey, but we'll go out there. So juniper, everyone should recognize juniper, right?
Yeah, it's
It
the
is.
blueberry that isn't.
It has okay, well, yeah, yeah, it tastes like a little tree.
The spicy blueberries that they make gin out of.
I
Yeah,
love that. It tastes like a
yeah,
little tree. It does
yeah,
taste like a
those
little tree.
berries taste if they're fresh, they taste like little trees, and if they're not fresh and they're old and dry, they taste like dead trees. But it makes a phenomenal antibiotic, systemic antibiotic. Terrific for all kinds of urogenital infections, some respiratory and skin infections. It's one that everyone should know.
And how do you prepare if I go out and I just grab a bunch of juniper berries, then how would I prepare that to turn that into an antibiotic?
Now, the antibiotic is going to come well, it comes from a couple different preparations. But if you're working with like some kind of urogenital infection, it's going to be a tincture of the leaf. And that's the thing with herbs, you've got to match the exact preparation to whatever disease you're treating
Okay, that makes sense.
because the active constituents in the herbs are extracted by different methods. Sometimes they need a water extract to get whatever you need out of that herb. Sometimes you need an alcohol extract to get what you need. So that's going to vary by your disease.
Makes sense because, I mean, not all plants are created equal. So why would any of the extraction methods be the exact
Yeah.
same?
Yeah.
And I'm sure in your book you break all this stuff down, the
I
correct
do.
extraction,
Absolutely.
all that kind of stuff. That's awesome.
Because it does no good if you don't know exactly what you need, you
Then you're
know?
going on the bookshelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do like your titles because I was looking at the good eats at the Teotihuacan Cafe. That's just a cool title too. I don't know. Did you come up with those on your own? You have help with
Well,
that stuff?
I did, and, I maybe should have tested those titles, like, I've learned from some more successful authors that you always test your titles because most people don't know what and I say
Mhm.
Teotihuacan, whatever. They don't know what that is.
Sure.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh"
You're talking to a subset of the population for sure.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah,
right,
absolutely. No, yeah, Chris and I get into that a lot where our marketing is a little off sometimes because you're right. You need to target the widest amount of people. You have to cast a wide net.
right. So, those titles might change someday. We'll see.
So I do have a couple of questions about your daily blog posts. So, are there any particular posts or do you do series of posts on specific themes? Have you had any that kind of resonated strongly with your audience or anything that took off and you weren't expecting it to?
Okay, so I have had posts that there was, like, one I almost deleted because I thought, "This is so boring, no one is gonna care." Um, and it was the post on the best by dates on your foods, right?
Sure.
What those really mean. I almost deleted it, and it was throughout this past 7 years, the second most popular blog post. It spread really quite widely. I was just amazed. I guess because so many people don't know what those dates mean. I mean, I learned a lot from it, and I wrote down, like, there's the codes that they use and how to interpret those codes, but also that those dates are not required by law. The manufacturers put them on there voluntarily, and it's just to help them rotate stock. And oh, if people throw it out because they think it's old, great, and they go buy more stocks.
But for the most part,
Gotcha.
expiration dates are total BS.
Yeah, the only dates on food that are required by the government are on baby formula.
That's
And
crazy.
even then, the
I had
baby
no idea.
formula hasn't automatically gone bad. It's just perhaps less nutritious.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting,
amazing.
huh?
So, I guess that maybe needs to go into our long-term preps as baby formula.
Yeah, well, and just I mean, knowing which foods really do maybe need an expiration date. Obviously, there's your fresh stuff, your dairies, things like that. But when you're talking about things in a can, I would assume that some things will expire before others, but that date is
Well,
probably a lot more arbitrary, isn't it?
yeah, it is. Because so much of it depends on how you've stored it. Is it, nice and cool? Has it been hot? Are you in a humid area and that can's gonna rust away? It's more really what the contents of the can are, like tomato sauce and pineapples, canned pineapple, whatever. Those will go bad quickly, not because the food's necessarily bad, but because the acids eat through the lining, and then you've got a mess everywhere. Meats and milk, believe it or not, they have the longest shelf life. And your vegetables, and then the fruits. Again, the fruits just have a shorter shelf life because of the acids.
Interesting. So is that where the one bad apple ruins the bunch comes from? Is because of it's putting off the gases as it decomposes, and then it kind of spurs the rest of them to go?
In the barrels, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
right.
cool.
Apples are high in, is it ethylene? It's ethylene. We talked about this. Yeah.
Ethylene gas, yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So you said the milks. I know you have a whole book just on what to do with powdered milk, and I think that's cool. Powdered milk. How long will that last? If I mean, how do you take it out of the store packaging and repackage that in some way to get powdered milk to last longer, or
Wow.
is it just okay in the box?
Okay, so I have purchased almost all my powdered milk through the home storage centers. They're affiliated, it's through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church, and you can get a lot of long-term storage food from them. What I always get from them, exclusively get from them, is the powdered milk because they have the best price and it is the most nutritious. It's also packaged for long-term storage, 20 to 30 years, as opposed to what you buy at the supermarket, which is much more expensive and not packaged for long-term storage.
And what was that
Ah,
website one more time?
Okay, I'm going to have to send that to you to get you the exact. I mean, you can go to lds.org, and
mhm.
then you look around and you find at the ribbon at the top, the food storage, and that will take you to it. You do not have to be a member to buy. They don't ask. They don't care. They want people to be prepared, and shipping, regardless of the size of your order, is $3.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Okay?
awesome. We'll check it out.
Yeah.
That's really good intel. Yeah, I always look at the stuff at the store, and yeah, it's kind of loosely packaged and
Right.
oftentimes not sealed. So I didn't know it, and
Right.
obviously it's got a year expiration date or something. So you buy specifically long-term storage
Yeah.
powdered milk just for that. Okay, that's really. I was going to ask if you've heard of I Buy the Nutrient Survival. Have you heard of those guys?
I have not heard of them.
You check them out. They are a long-term storagey one. I think they sell those like at Costco sometimes too, and they have their own website. But I like them because they call it like vitamin milk. It's a vitamin fortified powdered milk.
Huh?
But it sounds like some of the stuff you're buying is also like nutritious on purpose too.
So it's nutrient survival?
Yeah, nutrient survival.
Okay.
Check those
I
guys
will
out,
look
and
that up.
probably not as inexpensive as what you're talking about, but they sell it like in the number 10 cans, and
Uh-huh.
they call it, nutrient or whatever. It's like, fortified powdered milk. But I wanted to ask about powdered milk just because I don't really use it in anything, but you wrote a whole book about it.
I did.
Is there Can you give us maybe your favorite end of the world powdered milk recipe, or maybe a powdered milk recipe that people probably don't think is something you can put powdered milk in?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let me ask you,
You're
do
kind of
you
a
guys
powdered milk snob, aren't you? I can feel it coming.
no, I'm not. Actually, I'm not. But let me ask you, do you guys really want to live without cream cheese?
No, it
No,
sounds
no,
No.
terrible. Sounds
no.
terrible.
Yeah, you can make fabulous cream cheese with your powdered milk. You first make yogurt, and then you drain the yogurt so it becomes Greek yogurt, and then you pack it in a flour sack towel really snugly, pack it into the Tupperware because you want that towel to extract more of the whey, and you gotta change it a couple times, but you end up with cream cheese. And I just served it to a camp I was speaking at last week. It is
That's
good. It is so good. Yeah,
that's
and I will
homemade
be
cream cheese from
happy.
powdered milk. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can absolutely share that with you. You can post it if you would like. It is
Yeah,
in my book, but you can put that, on your
that's
site.
interesting. I assumed that there'd be no way to make cheese without fresh milk. I just thought there was like
No.
active culture stuff that had to
Well,
happen, so I had no idea.
yeah, this is fabulous cream cheese. You can just have it plain and spread it on crackers and bagels and be really happy, use it to make no-bake cheesecake, all kinds of great stuff. Add some herbs in, so you've got your herbed cream cheese.
I was gonna
We
say
can be
garlic
really
and
happy.
chives.
Yeah, yeah, we can be really happy,
That's
okay?
phenomenal.
I mean, if you were here, right here, I would have it ready to serve you. So
We're on our way.
and I started making it with 20-year-old powdered milk because I was like most people, I never rotated my powdered milk because you mix it up to drink and it is yucky. No one wants to do that. You're going to be sad. So I started because I had a boatload of 20-year-old powdered milk and it makes great, great food. You cannot tell that it is 20 years old.
That's amazing that not only is it still good 20 years after, but it's still good enough that you can do things with it. I'm sure there's a lot of money that you've saved
Well,
going
yeah,
with powdered milk as opposed to buying cream cheese and things like that at the
yeah.
grocery store.
And
I
it's
make
it sounds like you've got stuff like this that you're doing with limited ingredients too, and I really do like that because oftentimes I'll look at these sort of the long-term survival recipe stuff and it'll be like, "Oh, you just need, powdered eggs, which everybody has, and then you need four-leaf clovers and bald eagle heads or something." Like it's always these ridiculous ingredients that you also don't have. So I do like the fact that you're like, "No, it's basically just powdered milk and I'm making cream cheese." That's really cool.
I do want to keep it basic because I think that's something that intimidates a lot of people about their food storage. It's like there's a million different things to buy and I'll never be able to do this. I'll never be able to afford it. It's like, no,
Absolutely.
we
It's
can,
very overwhelming.
yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the challenges or hardships that you have encountered on this journey, not just with the blog, not just with food storage, but kind of in general, keeping everything balanced? What are some of the life lessons that you have learned from your prepping?
Life lessons. That's a hard one. Not everyone out there, believes that there's a need to prepare. So that's kind of sad. Life lessons. I better not let it take over my life. I have to step away and remember to have fun with my children, which, I've only got one at home right now. So when the others come home, it's like, it's time to step away and go have fun.
Absolutely. And not just focus on the moment instead of just looking
Yeah.
down the road.
And it's not because I feel like, doom's around the corner. I mean, it is coming someday. We're going to have challenging times. But I really love researching these things 'cause there are so many interesting things to learn, and better ways of doing things and just, getting the right, I don't know, mindset that this is totally doable. We can do this with some preparation.
Do you feel like you encounter kind of that prepper stigma or the tinfoil hat syndrome a lot when you talk to people?
If I'm just, out and about talking to people at church, most definitely. In a prepper group, they're like, it's all good. They're all excited unless it's those preppers who, "Oh, I've already got all this. I know this." And, they just keep walking on. It's like, "Okay."
Sure, you get prepper shamed a little bit by the super pros, but yeah, we recently did a episode on just sort of that prepper stigma where people are not that they think it's weird, they just don't want other people to think it's weird. People are just kind of standoffish about, I guess, being okay with being a prepper because
Mm,
there's a lot of this stigma about, oh, well, if you're a prepper, then you believe these things and you're just, preparing for this end of the world or you have too many guns or whatever it is. But
right.
yeah, and Chris
Yeah.
and I have both bumped into that a lot, and you're putting yourself out there a lot. I mean, you're writing books, you're obviously promoting those books,
Right.
you're using your real name, so I
Yeah.
assume that I assume that you bump into that a little bit.
And I never wanted to do this, but, here we are. I recognize that for what it's worth, it was something that God wanted me to do. It's like, okay, better put my name on it, better not be ashamed of it. And whatever happens, happens. But it's like, there's so many, it's not just total doomsday. It's like we can have weird weather events. Our apricot tree got taken out by Hurricane Hillary. Hurricane Hillary, like 2 years ago in Southern California, and I am in northeastern Nevada, and then hurricane took out my apricot tree.
That's wild.
I
That's
was
crazy.
not pleased, let me tell you.
That's a lot of work to get back.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like it's been worth it to you and your family to get into the prepping? I know you said you didn't want to do it. It kind of started slow, but do you feel like it's been worth it to spread kind of that general preparedness message?
Absolutely. I have been so blessed. I am so grateful for the things I've been able to learn that I never would have learned, just here and there researching on my own, but writing it down, having to be accountable. It's like, these myths that people have believed and perpetuate so much, they aren't really true. And learn what is true and what my family needs to know. They do come back to me every once in a while and say, "Yeah, mom, you were right." They try not to do that too often, but, yeah, so, of course, those paydays are great. Or,
And
just to have my son like, we were out of town at a gun show, and my son called up and I don't know, he did something with something called a whole saw, and whatever he did with it, he offended it, and she came back and hit him in the face, and he got a little laceration. It was small, but he's like, "Do I have to go to the ER?" And so I talked him through it, and he just patched himself up. He had great insurance, but he did not want to go in. It's like, "No, you don't have to go in, and this is how you do it," and healed right up, but it's like, being able to take care of these little things is also good. I don't know.
a laceration of the moneymaker. I don't know. I probably would have gone in anyway, and I hate doctors.
Oh, yeah. No, he was it was just small and right in a fold next to the mouth, so anyway.
So that's got to
That's
feel good though when somebody actually uses the information that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into and says, "Hey, I
Yeah,
I learned something. I accomplished a thing because of you." That's got to feel pretty good.
it feels great. It actually does, yeah. It really
and
does.
speaking of blood, sweat, and tears that you put all this work into, we are actually going to be giving away one of your books. So if you are still listening to this podcast, go to stakeholderprepping.com, send us an email, stakeholderprepping@gmail.com, send us a message on Facebook, come back and just send us a message with your favorite quote from Jennifer. And out of all of those entries, we will pick at random and send one of your books out.
I like
So
that.
free library edition.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jennifer, do you have a favorite book of yours that you have written out of the I think you said there's 9 of them. Do you have a favorite?
I get asked that question a lot, and it's like asking to pick which is your favorite child.
So your oldest.
My oldest, okay, well, that's my oldest would agree with that. Yeah, I don't know, I love them all because I love food, I love medicine, I love being prepared. I would probably say it's the powdered milk book because I learned
Really?
so much. Yeah, I learned so much because it's so maligned. Everybody hates it so much. It's like, there is so much good in there. Of
That's
course, I
actually the one that caught my eye of all of them because that was the one I was like, "Powdered milk, I don't know. I can think of, like, 2 uses for it. How do you write a whole
yeah,
book?" But,
I
yeah,
know.
I'm gonna have to read it because that's awesome. Powdered milk is one of those things that everybody can store. It's not expensive, it's not exotic, but unless you own a cow, you're not gonna make more of it after some kind of SHTF event.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
So, when you're writing your books, do a lot of the ideas come from your blog posts, or how do you kind of decide on your blog topics versus your book topics, or are they just kind of all together congruent and building off of each other?
So all the books are taken from the blogs. When I have enough, whatever I think enough is for a book, I start compiling, taking copy and paste from the blog to start building that book and then removing the blogging material that people don't necessarily need. You don't need my family stories in your reference library, right? So that's how I put the books together. Then for the blog topics, like Mondays is herbal medicine, Tuesday, Wednesday conventional medicine and diseases, Thursday and Friday are foods, and then weekends are repeats. It's just the ideas just come from everywhere. Times, a reader suggests something that they want me to research. I see something on the news or on any of the forums that I go to. They can just come from anywhere, and other research and or questions just pop up. I mean, they
And
can
you
come from
you
anywhere.
haven't ran out of things to talk about or write about yet, huh?
When I started, I thought maybe I could make this go 3 months tops. I didn't know that much, but there is so much to learn. It boggles my mind, and I probably have another, several hundred things I could write on. I always look for the ones that interest me most.
That's
What looks
awesome.
like it might be easy or tasty.
That's funny. Chris and I have talked about that too. And when we started this 55 weeks ago now,
Uh-huh.
I had said, I go, we're never going to be able to come up with, something to talk about every single week and have people engaged. And you're right. There's just so much information to learn and to talk about. And we have learned so much just in our research because, like you, we want to provide, a good quality product for people. And so I learned so much doing these podcasts every week. And I thought, I can't think of 50 things to talk about. Here we are, and yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff written down for the future, so that's awesome. It sounds like you're going to be able to keep it going for as long as you want to, at least.
Yeah, yeah. We wonder how long our country will hold together.
Do you have a particular we don't really go down the rabbit hole a whole lot but every once in a while we'll talk about whatever the next big thing is, but do you have a particular event that you feel like you're prepping for? We can cut this
I
out if you
really
get too
don't.
crazy.
It's like anything could happen, right? A fiat currency can only hold together so long, and we're at the upper limits of that.
So if you're prepared for anything, you are prepared for everything.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's
and
the idea.
and I read a lot of, James Wesley Rawls' books, and I think you do
Uh-huh.
too. And yeah, that's always been his start of the events, and all of his fiction is I will call it speculative fiction, but in his fiction, it's that fiat currency hyperinflation type thing, and I think I personally like that because it's something that we can all sort of see coming, we can sort of see the front side of that wave and say, "Yeah, I can see that coming." And I like the idea of people go, "Well, we'll just get out of the US dollar and we'll go to the hardware store and we'll turn it into nails or whatever."
Right.
That's it's
Yeah.
always difficult to kind of pinpoint a single event that you think is going to happen. And it's really weird because so many different things are so interconnected in today's world that it could be a hurricane that ends up collapsing a central economy, and then we lose power, and then it's just like the 1800s. But if we look at kind of the compounding effects, I mean, is there do you kind of have your own risk matrix where you take a look at second, third order effects and kind of backpedal your planning from there when you're looking at things?
Know that I do that so much. Just my whole job in my family is the food and the medicine. If I notice something going on out there, say, talk to my husband, okay, you've got all our fuel taken care of, right? I do make sure that I see there's a nice pile of wood and pellets for the wood stove. The gas tank is always full, even though I don't think we're going to be going anywhere because we are kind of remote and I love it. I think in the past couple of years, I've just settled down a lot because I feel like we're in a pretty good situation and, I don't have to worry. I can just be excited about learning, helping my children out. Does that make any sense?
It
Yeah.
does.
I know, absolutely, and I like that, you assign the tasks to people in the family or people in the group, and you're the food and medicine, and that's awesome because you sound like you're really good at it. Like, I wish we all had someone who is that dedicated to the food and the medicine in all of our groups. We'd all be a lot better off.
Yeah, the guns are fun. I mean, my son's a gunsmith and my husband enjoys it too, and
You can't eat those.
no, you can't eat those. Yeah.
No. Well, once, but it's not gonna
So,
taste very good.
Jennifer, I have a question. Because obviously, you do have a little bit of a medical background, but you've focused on a lot of this herbal medicine stuff. Do you have conventional antibiotics too? Do you stock a Jace case or contingency medical or anything like that? Or are you just no 100% we'll do it homeopathic?
Oh, okay. So I started definitely more heavily with the conventional antibiotics. I believe in having both. My husband is a type 1 diabetic. There are no herbs for insulin. There are no herbs for epinephrine or synthroid. We got to have both. I don't have the Jace case specifically. I started stocking my antibiotics before they became a company. Just I ordered them from All Day Chemist in India, and I've done that for I think over 15 years now. The great thing about herbs, though, is that there are um, this nice class of herbs that synergize with the antibiotics. So they make your antibiotics work better, faster, and they can overcome antibiotic resistance. So I think it's great to have both.
That's interesting. Which book is that in?
So the synergisms are definitely in Armageddon Pharmacy because I've learned about those all along. A couple will be in Bring Your Own Bandages. And it's kind of a newer field still. Researchers, they're still doing so much. Like, what do these herbs do? And finding out what they work with. There are foods mostly that you should not eat while taking some antibiotics, like especially the tetracycline family. Milk interacts with those and cancels them out. But yeah, there's like pomegranate. Pomegranate is a fantastic synergist for Cipro and tetracycline.
Nice.
Interesting. So increases efficacy or just the way your body reacts to it or what?
Efficacy and just making it work faster and overcoming the resistance. Yeah, and it's not the
Interesting.
arils, it's not the pomegranates, we call them seeds, they're called arils. It's the peel. So you just get the peel and you dehydrate it. You don't have to make a tincture. You just
And then does it just become like pomegranate chips?
I no, you take the peel and you powder it, and so then you would put it into a tea. Yeah. So
That's
easy to do, and then you have an excuse to buy those expensive pomegranates, right?
But that's truly amazing because we've talked a little bit to the guys that own Contingency Medical about just how
Uh-huh.
antibiotics they do lose efficacy. The second they're made, they lose efficacy until you use them or they eventually go bad. But generally speaking, they're never really poisonous to you. They just kind of lose efficacy. But the
Correct.
fact that you're talking about there's this natural homeopathic things that you can add to your stock and you're sort of beating that efficacy curve. You're saying, "Hey, yeah, that maybe they're only 20 or 50% effective anymore, but here's a way to augment that." That's amazing. I had no idea such a
Isn't
thing
that
existed.
isn't that exciting?
That's very exciting. No,
That's
that's
the kind
awesome.
of thing I get to learn every day. I just
Hey,
love it.
It certainly extends your lifespan of anything that you've got on the shelf that's getting ready to expire. If you end up in that long-term storage and have the powdered pomegranate next to it, you're expanding your lifespan on it by twofold at least.
Yeah, something. Yeah, it's great.
That's cool.
It's great.
So,
that's
are there any topics or formats or anything like that that you're planning to explore on Prep School Daily in the future that you haven't gotten into yet? Or
No, I'm still sticking with the food and medicine. There's so much there, but, like, one one article today I wrote today, it'll post in a couple weeks. It's like, why isn't this covered in any of the off-grid books? Because this is common, okay? Achilles tendon rupture.
sure.
Nobody's mentioned it. It's like, whoa, what does this mean? What happens? I interpreted it, it was always in my mind that an Achilles tendon rupture was a complete rupture. So it's completely torn and you're out of luck. And it's like, no, I went and did the research. I got Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic, and they they basically said the same thing. It's like, no, actually, non-surgical treatment does work. It takes longer, but in a grid down scenario, it works. And there's these things you can have a partial rupture or a full rupture, but they can still be repaired. And so you're going to want to have the crutches. You might want to have a boot or somehow be able to fashion it. But it's like, you don't have to just sit back and cry because there's nothing that can be done. It's like, we can do things. We can take care of things like this.
Wow. The body is a pretty amazing thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's just a mobilization and you can recover from a lot of Achilles
Yeah.
issues?
Well, you're going to have uh, your foot pointed down, and if you don't have the boot, then you're gonna have to work out something else for that. But and the time period you need for it, start with your exercises after a few weeks. Start easy, but it's like I just assumed that there was no hope for something like that. But learning that I was wrong and be able to learn what to do, I just think is really cool. Really cool. I don't know. Maybe everyone else is bored by it, but I think it's cool.
Have you have you heard of anybody, using your books or your blog? Have you gotten any feedback from somebody who's put it into use? And what kind of feedback was it?
Ooh, I mostly hear more from male readers, which I never anticipated. And I have a few that will comment on the blog. One who prefers to email me directly, which is fine. My husband's fine with it. But it's just that they really appreciate the information that I put out because I spend 4 to 6 hours a day researching and writing, and people don't have time to do that. Most people still have jobs, right? Gotta do other things, gotta get the other preps together, gotta practice, and so, it's nice to hear that they appreciate it, or we'd all just like to be neighbors. It would just be cool to have good neighbors like that. I had one older gentleman, and he wanted to remain anonymous, and I don't even know if I've mentioned him on the blog yet, but when my husband was out of work, I think he was out of work for 7 months this time, I was having to research. My readers wanted a, flash drive like James Wesley Rawls does.
Yeah, sure.
I I am so bad with technology, I didn't know how to do it or anything, anyway, so one of my readers said, "Just do this, tell me what flash drive you want, and I will buy the flash drives." And so he bought us, like, 30 flash drives and got us started with that, and my husband figured it out because he had the motivation to do that, but it was just nice that they cared.
And so is that, like, your complete works, all of the blog posts
It
and
was
books
all
or
the blog
something?
posts. Yeah,
All the blog posts. Okay. Which
yeah.
did turn into the books eventually, I guess.
Right.
Wow.
And I guess some people like searching that way. I want a hard copy that has an index and a table of contents.
Sure. Yeah. You end up with a lot of paper and killing a lot of trees.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know.
I know we've kind of talked about it, but it's Prep School Daily,
.blogspot.com.
prepschooldaily.blogspot.com. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll make sure to post links to that. There's some great information, and I can't believe you are actually cranking it out every day. And I absolutely believe that you're putting hours and hours of research into it. Because Chris and I talk about this all the time. Just the amount of research it takes to deliver just 1 hour of us talking is crazy. I couldn't imagine trying to do something like that every single day. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, but I was really amazed that you guys put so much research into just interviewing me, and it's like, "Wow, these guys actually they did some work." I was impressed.
Thanks. That's great. No, we do try to deliver a quality product, and for us, our tagline, it's always about actual actionable intel. We actually want to give people something to look back on and something to take action on, not just the us BSing about stuff, but I want to get those actual cream cheese recipes from you and things like that. And we want to know how to actually repair an Achilles tendon because those are important things. We try not to just be so high level about stuff. We try to actually get into the weeds. And so I appreciate that because yeah, reading your blog, you do the exact same thing where you really do try to get into the weeds and explain things to people and you do a good job of explaining it to people like they're idiots because I'm an idiot and I can understand the things you're talking about. So I do appreciate it.
I don't wanna sound like I'm talking, like I think people are idiots. I don't. So I hope I don't come across that way.
No, no, but being able to break things down to actual, consumable bites. I don't have any kind of medical background, and all of the things that I've seen and read of yours makes sense to me. So I do appreciate that because I think you do get people that they either want something very, very granular or they want something just high level and just kind of want to have this, I don't know, I want to call it basic knowledge of something, but they don't have the actual skills and building blocks to do something. Like I think there are a lot of people that would just say, well, you can take powdered milk and make cream cheese, but that sounds great to say that you know how to do that, but to actually not have the instructions to do that, it's kind of worthless information.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
And I'm assuming that a lot of the stuff that you post on the blog or write your books about, you actually put into practice. You try the recipes,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
not just finding something and reposting it, right?
Oh, yeah, that drives me crazy. In a lot of my research, I see people who are just copying what someone else said. It's like sometimes it's verbatim. It's like, "Have you guys no shame?" But But yeah, like the recipes I have to try out with my family, and I will post their reviews. I do have the king and the queen of the picky eaters in my family, and I have their dad, and I try not to say anything about where they got their pickiness from. So it's a challenge, but people need to know that your family members all have different kinds of tastes. And like we did a taste testing thing with powdered milk and different ways to make it taste good. I also did different brands at another point, but I had 8 people here, and they all picked a different tweak, And I just like, "Are you kidding me?" My husband liked the one with honey. I thought it was gross. Some kids just wanted the powdered or the extra powdered milk or adding vanilla and sugar, which is probably the most common, most popular way to make your improve the taste of your powdered milk. I tried one that really scared me, but this is kind of in the job description that I have here. I have to try the scary things. It was adding coconut oil and powdered eggs, pasteurized powdered eggs, which I thought sounded really gross. I mean, I was really scared to try it. That was my favorite. It tasted like whole milk to me.
Interesting.
Interesting.
But our family members have different taste buds, and not everything is going to taste good to everybody.
Do you ever strike out? Do you ever say, "All right, fam, tonight we're doing roasted pine cones with, beet juice," and then it's just terrible and you gotta call out for pizza or something? Do you ever totally strike out, or have you
Oh,
been pretty lucky?
most definitely, there are the bad days. I usually can tell something's not gonna go over very well before it gets to the table, so I will avoid those. I have tried some really crazy things and, made the family laugh. They were really grateful I didn't make them eat it, but, I don't think you guys probably aren't vegans, is my guess. Don't want to offend the vegans, but, that banana peel bacon that you guys claim is so good, it is not good. It was
I have
really
never even
bad.
heard of it.
I've never heard of such a thing. Bacon
Yeah,
out of
they say
banana
yeah,
peels?
you start with the banana peels and you put some I don't even know what I did. It was, I think, some smoke flavoring on them and, crisp them up in the pan with some oil, and it's gonna taste just like bacon. I think they've been eating their cooking a little too long. But,
Yeah,
I had to try.
for
Yeah,
me,
sorry.
it's regular thick cut bacon, maybe the hickory smoked, and then baste it in whiskey and brown
That's right.
sugar
Yeah.
while it's
Yeah.
smoking.
The problem with bacon is it makes you thirsty for more bacon.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is there a particular recipe that kind of stands out as something that you're super proud of, not just limiting it to the powdered milk, but out of everything that you've tried, what's kind of one that sticks out as like, I did that and it was awesome.
Yeah, what's the end of the world recipe that everybody should know?
Ooh, so going beyond the powdered milk, have you ever used garbanzo bean juice? Have you heard about it's called aquafaba?
Uh-uh.
No. It sounds
Okay.
very lectory, but no, I have not heard of such
Yeah,
a
that
thing.
sounds yeah, it's another scary one. It whips up like an egg white, like, perfectly. You can make mayo with that. Perfect mayo. I was blown away. I tried it with the kids, and, you don't just go around eating mayo, at least we don't. You put it in salad dressing, you put it on your sandwiches, right? They could not tell a difference even when they knew that they were different. They couldn't
So
taste a difference.
when you say the juice, are you talking about just like the water you dump out of the can,
Yeah,
or are you like
yeah, yeah.
juicing these
No,
beans?
no, 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 sorry. It is the liquid from your canned garbanzo beans. So it
Wow.
used to be water when it went in, and then now it's got some starch from the beans. You can make fabulous mayonnaise. Oh, yeah, I've got chocolate mousse I made with that aquafaba in the fridge right now. I took that to the preparedness camp last week. Yeah, it
That's
whips up
awesome.
great,
That's awesome.
and that's something you would normally throw away.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to wrap up soon, but I do want to give you a chance to plug yourself. You've got the blog. Where can people find you? You said you taught at a preparedness camp. Is that something you want to talk about? It sounds like you get out and you're in the preparedness community and you're
Ooh,
you're, kissing babies and shaking hands. So where can people find you?
that was just a camp that a friend put together in Utah, and I don't know if he shares a link, maybe I can share it with you. I'm really just my blog, and then my books are on Amazon. I do have my website that is under construction, but these remodeling projects, apparently on the web, they take as long as they do in real life.
You got a web
They're
contractor
never
that's
done. They're never
telling you they're
done
going to
on
be
time.
there. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so actually, but maybe by the time this airs, authorjenniferrader.com is where my books will be.
Awesome.
If people buy through me, then I get a little more profit, and they're less than they are on Amazon.
Were you allowed to do that? If Amazon hears this, they're shutting you down.
I'll be okay. I'll
Worth
be
it.
okay. But,
It's
well, because honestly, guys, there are those people out there who recognize that Jeff Bezos just got married. He does have a wedding to pay for.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
maybe you need to go there.
I
Yeah.
think it was an expensive wedding too. I don't think they
Yeah.
cheaped out a lot on that. So you're right. We have to support Jeff. So yeah, let's make sure we'll send people to Amazon to buy the book. But yeah, we've got your blog address. We will absolutely post that on our blog. And every week we do a blog. And I would like to get I have the list of your books. I would like to get the list from you of the other books that you did recommend, some of the off-grid medical books, because we'll
Yeah, absolutely.
post links to those as well. But yeah, we absolutely do really appreciate you joining us. Do you have any questions for us before we let you go?
This one just popped into mind, and I don't know. It doesn't matter to me if you decide not to air it. But you mentioned James Wesley Rawls and his books, and he has Survival Blog.
Hmm.
His blog. All my books are one of the prizes for his writing contest. I don't know if you remember, he's got the writing contest and
Yeah,
has those prizes that he gives out every 2 months, and so my books are one of the items in the prize package.
that's great. I would consider myself. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm a regular contributor to the blog, but
Okay.
I have 4 essays now posted
Uh-huh.
on his blog. He's posted 4 of my essays that really they're kind of based on the research we did for certain episodes that I can easily turn into an essay. And he's been kind enough to post those. He said some very favorable things about us. I am ineligible from winning anything because we did advertise on his
Right,
blog, and he's kind of a stickler for that stuff. So we aren't
right.
going to win your books anywhere. We're probably going to have to go out and buy them. But
No, but your readers,
yeah,
I mean, your
Yes,
listeners.
yeah,
absolutely.
no, absolutely. I do like Survival Blog, and I do read your blog as well. So no, thank you for that.
Any other questions, Jennifer, before we depart?
I don't know that I have other questions. I really appreciate you having me on. I would love to be on again,
Sure.
whenever.
Next time, what's the next book that's going to drop? You want to tease anything? What's the next one
Okay.
you want to do?
It might not be another 9 months to a year because I decided I just gotta do this right and do it well and take the time needed to edit it because it's gonna be big. It's gonna be the 2nd edition of Bring Your Own Bandages.
Ooh,
When that came out, the blog was only 18 months old, and now we've got another 5.5 years of medicine in there on the blog that needs to be in a hard copy. So,
Fantastic.
that's exciting. We'll have you on to talk about it. That's awesome.
okay, that'll be great.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
join us next week for our next step in our adventure. Remember, you can always go to stakeholderprepping.com and catch up on the most recent episodes. But Jennifer, thank you. This has been an eye-opening experience and absolutely phenomenal. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Chris and AC.